Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. The Tyranid Learning Curve, and today we're looking at the Tyranid Warrior, the first of the troop section. Now these warriors, not only are they an iconic Tyranid unit, they're probably one of our core units in the troop section, and the main reason for that is they have the synapse ability, which none of the other troops tend to have, so that's pretty useful. Now, if you're unaware what the synapse is, basically any creature that doesn't have the synapse special rule, if it's out of 12 inches of another synapse creature, it has to take an instinctive behaviour test, basically as a leadership check. Now, if you're using, for example, Hormagaunts, they're only leadership 6, so there's a good chance you're going to fail, and if you do fail, you have to randomly roll on an instinctive behaviour table, which is generally not a good idea to be doing that. So it's nice to have a synapse anchor within your troops selection, and these guys they're pretty versatile, really. I suppose they come between 3 and 9 in one unit. Now, even though they are quite versatile, I tend to find that I only use them in one way, really. Now, the main reason for taking these guys, to be fair, is for synapse range and to have some more survivable troops options, because your little gaunts and your gants, they're gonna be taken out by the end of the game. But troops with the warriors, the ability to stay around a bit longer is quite useful. Now, they do have a little bit of a weakness. We're going to have a quick look at the stats. So the weapon skill 5, so pretty decent in close combat. Ballistic skill 3, which, although that's not great, the gun options that we're going to probably be using the most are blast weapons anyway, so that's not too much of a problem. Strength 4, pretty decent. Toughness 4, although that sounds pretty decent. 3 wounded models, these are. So toughness 4 all of a sudden means that any strength 8 or more guns are going to instant death you. Now, you're paying 30 points minimum for these guys with no upgrades. So although they sound great having 3 wounds, just a 4+ save. So you only be getting cover save against those missile launchers, etc., and you are going to be instant deathed. Now, the way to get around that primarily is to either obviously hide them, in buildings and stuff where you do get at least a decent save, or to make sure that you've got some other big gribblies that's going to focus some attention on them and take those missile launchers and las cannons away from these guys. And that is very doable with the amount of creatures and gribblies that we've got in the codex. So the way to use these, well, yeah, like I said, they're a synapse creature, and that's primarily how you're going to be using them, as a synapse anchor for all your non-synapse bugs. Now, that would either be sitting at the back a bit more, keeping maybe biophors in synapse and things like that, or potentially just moving up forward with your sort of gaunts, etc. Now, you can upgrade the guns, so they come as standard with Devourers, and they're 18 inches, strength 4, no AP, 3 shots, pretty decent. I tend to upgrade them with the Death Spitters because they have the extra strength, they're strength 5, and they have AP 5, which is obviously a little bit better, a bit more helpful, especially if you're playing a low AP armoured army like Orcs or something, or a high AP armour. They're only 18 inches though, both of those gun options, so they are pretty short range. Fine if you're going to be going up front with your gaunts and stuff, but bearing in mind these are your troops, so you may potentially be having them a little bit more at the back. So you can have an option to upgrade one of the guns to a bigger gun, and you have a choice of Venom Cannon or Barbed Strangler. The Venom Cannon and Strangler are both 36 inches. The cannon is strength 6, small blast, and the Strangler is strength 4, large blast, but there's also penning. Now, I've tried both. The Venom Cannon I like because obviously it's got the higher strength 6, but it is only a small blast, and You know, you've got a good chance of scattering it off. When you do scatter off, where it's only a small blast, you tend to hit nothing. Or at least with the large blast, if you do scatter, you at least hit something. And being pinning, really, really useful. And that brings me on to the unit size. So between 3 and 9 of these guys you can have. Now I tend to either play a small unit of 3 with the upgrade, and maybe have several units of those just like within the army, making use of this gun, basically the long range gun, just hiding them in a nice position, get this gun going. If you need a few more wounds because you're going forward, then obviously adding 1 or 2 minis I tend to be about right, probably a unit of 4 or 5. Going beyond a 5, I think you're sinking a lot of points into that one unit, and mostly the smaller guns aren't really hitting because they're small, 18-inch range. So generally you're only hitting with the bigger gun, which is why I prefer to favour the smaller units personally. Now if you want to get away from gun options, you can actually make these quite close combat orientated if you want to. So you can add things like bone swords and lash whips, rending claws, which is all very well and good, but again I don't know that you'll want to get your warriors in too much trouble, because they're going to be one of your scoring units, and not only that, they're going to be one of your synapse units. And we've got plenty of other close combat orientated units that you can put into the pods, etc., and do some damage that way. So I wouldn't personally gear these up for close combat myself. And again, you've got the options like adrenal glands, toxin sacs and flesh hooks. Again, I really wouldn't bother with taking those upgrades on these. I mean, with the Death Spitter, you're looking at 35 points a mini, and then the Barbed Strangler is 10 points. So, it's a reasonable investment in the unit anyway. And I think you're just not going to benefit from having those additional upgrades. Okay, so I think that's it for Warriors. As I said, it's a great unit, just be a little bit mindful about those high strength guns if they're around. Try to avoid those if you can, but on the whole, a great troops choice. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Next up we're going to look at Gene Stealers.